You treated her like a queen, not just roses on anniversaries, but genuine appreciation for every eye roll, every random pout, every mood swing that had no clear cause. You learned to read her emotions through the punctuation in her texts. You remembered her snack orders better than your work deadlines. You were her punching bag, her safe space, her emotional sponge, and you thought that was love. You assumed she saw that. She had to. You were always there. Every call answered, every crisis carried, every dream cheered on. You thought you were building something real with patience and care. But then one day, like a switch flipped, she cooled off. Fewer texts, distracted replies, distant energy, until she vanished completely. Then you saw her hand in hand with a man who didn't care if she was sad or happy, didn't text, did you get home safe, didn't even reply on time. A man who did nothing except exist. Why him? Why would she leave the man who treated her like a goddess to chase after someone who doesn't even see her? In today's video, we're not blaming women, and we're not going down maybe I wasn't good enough spiral either. Instead, we're going to do something most men today rarely dare to do. Look the truth in the eye. We're going to break down the psychology behind why some women would rather chase the man who sees them as nothing than stay with the one who treats them like everything. We'll uncover the deeper mechanism that makes kindness feel boring and indifference strangely magnetic. And if you've ever asked yourself, why does the better I treat her, the colder she gets? Why won't she choose someone who loves her unconditionally? Is being kind just emotional suicide these days? Drop a comment below. You're probably not alone. You just haven't been handed the right lens yet. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Victory Stoic, the space for men who stop chasing the ungrateful and start becoming someone the world can't ignore. Let's begin. There was once a man who said, I'm not good with words, and I'm definitely not the best man out there, I know that. But whenever she needed me, I was there. I learned to listen even when my head was exploding. I worked 12-hour shifts, but still made time to pick up her favorite pastry on my way home late at night. I never asked her to do anything for me. I just wanted her to stay. He said it with conviction, as if kindness alone should have been enough to make her choose him. But she didn't. She left without a word. And what was left in his eyes wasn't tears, it was emptiness. The kind of emptiness you see in someone who thought they understood life, but suddenly can't make sense of the heart. Have you ever felt like that? Not knowing what you did wrong because you clearly did everything right? If not, you're lucky. But if yes, maybe you understand the feeling of being like a wooden chair in a cozy cafe. Someone used to sit there every afternoon, laughing, crying, ordering another cup of tea. Then one day they got busy, found another seat, and the chair remained untouched, unnoticed, even though it did nothing wrong. You loved like that chair. Steady, present, unquestioning. And then one day you realized no one feels moved by something that's always there. You believed that if you gave enough, you'd be valued. But you forgot in love, presence isn't a gift if it's handed out without boundaries. Because the truth is, women don't always love the ones who love them most. They love the ones who make them fear losing something real. And now maybe you're starting to sense something's off. Like you've been walking the right path, but it's not leading where you thought. You start to wonder, what does she actually see when she looks at me? What do women really feel when they're with a man who loves them too much? And why do they fall for the one who treats them like they're nothing special? In the next section, we're not going to talk about you. We're going to talk about her and what her instincts, her primal femininity truly respond to. Not words, not gifts, but something deeper, something more dangerous. And if you don't understand it, then no matter how good your love is, you'll still be the one left behind. So what did she really see? It's not that you weren't good. It's not that you didn't love her enough. In fact, you might be the kindest man she's ever met. The one who always asks if she's eaten, who shows up in the rain to pick her up, who remembers anniversaries she forgot. You were warmth, a shoulder she could lean on anytime. And that, ironically, is why she didn't want to lean on you. Because people don't like to lean on what's always available. You loved like love was something to earn through effort. You believed that the more you gave, the gentler you were, the more patient you became, the more she would feel something. But instead, you watched her place her heart in the hands of someone who didn't even bother to hold on. Someone who didn't protect her, didn't ask how she was doing, didn't try at all, yet kept her checking her phone for every brief reply. And you, the kind one, sat on the sidelines, unable to understand why you were cut out of a love game you thought you were playing by the rules. The reason isn't that you did something wrong. It's that you failed to do the one thing her instincts are wired to demand. To understand this, you need to throw away all the romantic fluff, self-help books, and quote cards saying she just wants someone sincere. Forget all of it. Now imagine this from scratch, a primitive tribe. Dense jungle, predators, scarce food. Night falls with the growls of meat-eating beasts. In that world, a world where life and death sit side by side, who does a woman choose to entrust her future to? Not the cutest guy, not the funniest, not the one who gives her the most flowers. She chooses the alpha male, the man who doesn't ask to be loved, who doesn't perform to win affection, who walks slowly but no one dares to overtake, who doesn't raise his voice yet commands every gaze, who doesn't chase or beg, yet anyone who leaves eventually looks back. The alpha doesn't grovel. He doesn't chase after women to get noticed. He's simply too radiant for others not to feel small in comparison. No one ignores the sun. No one pretends not to notice a man who walks into a room and changes its gravity. He is the center not because he tried to become it, but because he never stepped out of it. And women, no matter how logical, educated, or financially powerful, are still emotional creatures. In the moment of attraction, they don't choose with logic. They respond with nervous systems shaped by millions of years of evolution, seek strength for safety, not kindness for gratitude. You, the man who is always there, always available, become the option that doesn't need to be kept. You don't trigger her internal alert system. You don't make her feel that losing you means losing something truly irreplaceable. I know you're a great guy. But so what? You failed to market that greatness to her heart. You loved steadily, but steady doesn't raise heartbeats. You text her every morning. You share your feelings. You check in when it's cold outside. And you slowly remove any sense of anticipation. Meanwhile, the alpha never overoffers. Not because he's arrogant, but because he knows his value. He shows that his time matters. He doesn't scream, "Choose me," because he understands this. If someone's worth it, they'll want to walk beside him. If they're not, their absence isn't a loss. She sees in him a light that makes her feel smaller. And guess what? Women fall hardest when they feel small enough to be protected. Not weak, just soft in the arms of someone stronger. Not muscle strong, but grounded, unfazed, immune to emotional manipulation. And you bend, you accommodate, you flow with her every mood. You became a pillow. Comfortable, yes. But nobody obsesses over a pillow. The feminine doesn't long for a pillow. The feminine craves the glowing pillar that holds up a temple. She doesn't crave a man who asks, "Do you need anything, babe?" She craves a man who already has everything in place, and she just needs to step in. He doesn't say, "Please love me." He gives her the feeling that she has to rise to be beside him, and that pressure to reach, to hold, to strive activates the most primal part of her. That's what you didn't bring. Or at least, you didn't present your masculinity and strength in the right form. You locked your excellence in a drawer and lost the key. You had a great product but didn't know how to sell it. Is it cruel? Yes. Unfair? Absolutely. But biology doesn't care about fairness. Women aren't ungrateful, but they're not fairness processors either. They respond instinctively. And instinct doesn't care how deeply you love her. It only asks, are you the kind of man I can soften for? You didn't lose because you weren't good enough. You lost because you put yourself on the altar. You became a martyr. And if you're still here reading this line, it's because deep down, you know you weren't born to beg. You were born to stand tall, to lead your emotions, and to make the woman you love feel lucky to be beside you, not lucky that you accepted her. In the next part, I won't teach you how to become some cold manipulator. I'll show you how to reclaim your stance so you won't need to play any games, and she'll choose you because you're where the light shines, not because you flash a desperate SOS. But first imagine how an overly nice guy appears through her eyes. At first, she was touched. A man who texts goodnight, checks in on her meals, pays attention to her every small emotion. It made her feel cared for, cherished, and above all, safe. She exhaled with relief. No fear of ghosting. No need to decode 3-word texts. No pressure to keep up appearances. With you, she could relax. And in the first few weeks, she valued that. But soon, that very safety became invisible. Not because you did anything wrong, but because her feelings started to drift. You were always there, never late, never lazy, never silent, never left her waiting. And because of that, you gave her no reason to seek. Like a home that's warm, clean, and convenient, but holds nothing left to explore. She began unconsciously comparing you to the men who once made her heart skip. Not necessarily richer, better looking, or kinder, but men who made her worry. Made her wonder, made her unsure what would happen next. You, in contrast, anticipated her thoughts, responded before she spoke. She didn't have to lift a finger to have you. And that, strangely enough, made her feel less valuable beside you. Because women don't just want to be loved. They want to feel worthy of love. They want to think, I won this man over, or I'm attractive enough that he chose me over many others. But you gave everything from the start. You placed her at the center without asking for anything in return. And deep down in her subconscious, she felt no effort was needed to keep you. And when someone doesn't need to be kept, they don't feel easy to lose. And what doesn't feel easy to lose biologically doesn't feel that precious. So the signs began to fade slower, replies less excitement to meet, or worse, she starts talking to you like you're the perfect boyfriend to confide in about another man. Not because she's cruel, but because her instincts don't spark for someone she can fully control. A man who, when she pulls away, only tries harder. A man who'll rearrange his day just to see her for 30 minutes. A good man too good to be a challenge. You might think, so women only like bad boys. Not exactly. She doesn't need someone who treats her badly. She just needs the feeling. This man doesn't need me, but still chooses me. Yes, he's high value, accomplished, busy, has a full life, but he picked me. Being chosen by someone who has options, that's what stirs emotion. Meanwhile, devotion from someone always available, though noble, doesn't trigger the instinct to protect it. You're no longer the prize. You're the default. You gave up your friends, your gym sessions, your fishing weekends. And now, when you look in the mirror, the masculine edge is wearing thin, replaced by a gentle caretaker. Picture an American man named Mark, 38 years old, recently divorced after 12 years of marriage. He's a good guy. He works in accounting, has a stable life, doesn't drink, doesn't party, and treated his ex-wife with love until the very last day. After the divorce, he starts dating again, determined. This time, I'll give it my all. I'll do everything right, the things my ex-wife once said I lacked. Then he meets a younger woman, smart, independent, with a dating history full of ambitious startup guys. Mark does it all, picks her up books, dinners, buys thoughtful gifts, plans, weekend getaways. Never demands, never expects. She sees that Mark is kind, reliable, sincere, and yet she doesn't feel anything. Meanwhile, another man who sometimes reads her texts and doesn't reply, who might call her one night full of energy and then disappear for 3 days, is the one she can't stop thinking about. Not because she's dumb, but because her brain, shaped by thousands of years of evolution, is still wired to react to signals of scarcity, uncertainty, and emotional hierarchy. Another example, Anna, 41, a successful dermatologist in Chicago. She's dated men on her level, but once fell head over heels for a broke, undereducated personal trainer who was insanely confident and emotionally untouchable. Meanwhile, Jeff, a software engineer, neat, healthy, steady, texts her every night to check in. The problem, Jeff is always available. And Anna can't feel special when there's no effort required to earn him. This isn't a lesson on how to be a jerk. It's the truth about how women perceive a man's value. They don't only evaluate behavior, they feel where you stand emotionally. If you stand tall, they look up. If you bow down, why would they lift their head? We'll continue next with a critical question. How can a man stay good without falling into the invisible trap of being too nice? But before that, have you ever been in Jeff or Mark's position? Have you ever been overlooked despite loving someone the right way? Drop a comment and hit subscribe. And if you know someone who's giving too much and getting nothing back, send them this video. Because Victory Stoic isn't just about understanding women. It's about helping you hold on to your dignity in love. Eventually, you find yourself asking, so do I have to treat the woman I love with indifference? Do I have to be cold and distant just to make her stay? It sounds like a noble question, a moral one. But underneath it reveals confusion. You don't understand why your kindness hasn't been appreciated. You never meant to hurt anyone. You were kind, attentive, patient, giving not to manipulate, but because you genuinely loved her. You thought, if I treat her well enough, she'll never leave. But one day you're sitting in silence, staring at your phone, reading the same cold message over and over, or worse, no message at all, while the man you always thought didn't care is now holding her heart with just a shrug and a few half-hearted words. You ask yourself, was I wrong to love her wholeheartedly? But the problem isn't your goodness. The problem is you lost your own value in the process of loving her. When a man pours all his time, thoughts, and emotions into chasing a woman, quitting the gym, shelving his goals, cutting off friends, living by her rhythm, texting every morning, hope you have a great day, agreeing with everything just to avoid conflict, FaceTiming, just to hear her talk about another guy who doesn't love her enough, he slowly stops being the man she was once drawn to. You become a shadow, an emotional assistant, a 24/7 support agent she only calls when there's no one better to talk to. And you think your persistence will make her realize. But no, it won't. Her instincts weren't designed to fall for what's always available. She didn't betray you. She simply responded to a man who stopped being the center of his own life. Think back to when you were still fully yourself. You had your own world, your discipline, your charisma, your mystery. She admired you for that. But then you stripped it all away to prove your love. And in doing so, you stepped out of the frame she used to look up to. In behavioral psychology, there's something called intermittent reinforcement. It's when a reward comes inconsistently and unpredictably, like a slot machine, like likes on social media, like a man who doesn't text every morning, doesn't chase, but still makes her wonder, will he notice me today? That uncertainty fires up her dopamine system more than any sweet promise ever could. Now let me be clear, I'm not telling you to play games, manipulate, or act like a jerk. Stoicism, the philosophy of inner discipline, doesn't teach you to fake being busy or act cold to mess with someone. It teaches you to remain grounded, unmoved by the emotional tides of others. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved, and the raging of the sea falls still around it." You don't need to be cold, but you do need to be immovable. Women don't need a man who grovels. They need a man they can lean on, someone who won't crumble under rejection. Someone living his own life, not a life engineered around them. I once spoke to a man in Michigan, 44 years old. He said, "I was married 12 years, divorced for 2. When I started dating again, I thought the key was to be the best man she ever met. Morning texts, picking her up, cooking, doing everything her ex-husband never did. After 3 months, she said, 'You're smothering me. I need space.'" He didn't smother her because he did anything wrong. He smothered her because he did too much, and in doing so lost the very self that had attracted her in the first place. Attractive men aren't attractive because they're cold. They're attractive because they have a life. They don't need a woman to complete them. They live fully, and that's what makes a woman want to be a part of it. Not because he begged to be in hers. When you abandon your friends, stop growing, quit working out, and spend every day checking if she's in a good mood, you're making a dangerous trade, placing your emotions beneath someone else's. And no woman wants to love a man who can't govern his own mind. Being grounded doesn't mean being emotionless. It means you don't overreact. You don't chase. You don't give more than you receive. You don't invest everything in someone who hasn't truly chosen you. And most of all, you don't abandon your path just because someone entered your life. Women may enjoy being pampered, but they don't fall in love with those who submit. They love men who give with boundaries, with standards. Men who make them feel, he cares about me, but if I don't value him, he'll walk away without looking back. That's not coldness. That's self-worth. And you don't need to fake it. You just need to remember who you are and start living like him again. So if she's already grown distant, already pulling away, what should you do? The answer is nothing until you rebuild yourself. If you're coming from a place of, "I need to act now to win her back," you've already lost before you begin. Because anything you do from a fear of losing her doesn't create attraction. It only sparks pity. And no woman wants to stay because she pities you. You have to understand one thing: her feelings didn't just fall from the sky or vanish without reason. She's grown distant because she no longer feels like she has to keep you. Because to her, you're always there, always available, always waiting in the background. You're no longer a man she could lose. You become a presence she's guaranteed. And once a woman feels certain that you're not going anywhere, that's exactly when she begins to leave. So what now? First, cut every reflex that comes from emotional panic. Don't text her just because she sighed earlier. Don't DM her because she didn't post a story today. Don't call just to prove I'm still here. The fact that you're still here is the very thing that makes her stop trying, and that's how you erase your own gravity. There's a Stoic quote: "The obstacle is the way." That feeling you're desperate to escape loss, emptiness, insecurity, that's the exact path you need to walk. Not to drown in it, but to forge yourself through it. A man who's lost everything and still hasn't lost himself is a man a woman will never forget. Picture this: she's standing high on a cliff, looking down at a river. When you swim toward her begging to be let up, she feels nothing. But if you turn upstream, build a strong, warm home for yourself, higher up the river one day, she may turn around. Not because you pleaded, but because where you stand becomes a place she wishes she could walk into. Want to know what to do next? Turn distance into a stage for transformation. Don't hide. Don't wait for her to come back just so you can start fixing things. Start now while she's still drifting away. Hit the gym. Reconnect with old friends. Cut down on social media if all you're using it for is tracking her. Read. Focus on your finances. Go out and do what men are meant to do, build. Freedom isn't giving up. Freedom is not letting fear control your actions. Re-establish boundaries. Don't text her unless she asks something specific. Don't show up every time she tests the waters with a story. Don't be the first to comment, like, or send links. Let her see, not through words, but through absence, that she's losing a man not everyone gets a second chance with. And you're not retaliating. You're simply no longer begging. A real story, Gary, 39, from New Jersey. After his ex-wife left, he kept texting, begging her to come back. When she stopped replying, he went silent. But instead of collapsing, he rewrote his life plan, back to the gym, off social media, 6 months dedicated to launching a handmade leather brand, something he delayed because he didn't want her to feel like he was too busy. A year later, she messaged him, "You've really changed." He read the message and didn't reply, because by then he had become the kind of man he was proud to be. Not the kind who clings to someone else to feel worthy. You don't need to be cold. You just need to be quietly proud. And yet, you still wonder, if I do that, I'm afraid she'll grow even more distant. What if holding my ground means I really lose her? Let me tell you, fear is natural. No man stands at the edge between love and loss without feeling afraid. Afraid to lose her. Afraid to be alone. Afraid that maybe she was the last person he could truly connect with. And most of all, afraid that if he stops texting, stops chasing, she'll walk away for good. But let me ask you straight up, if you have to beg her to stay, what do you really have? You don't have love. Because love doesn't survive on guilt or pity. You don't have attraction. Because attraction doesn't live between a throne and someone kneeling at its foot. All you're left with is an illusion. A hollow shell, a relationship you're paying for with your dignity. And the cruelest part, the harder you try to hold on, the faster she walks away. A woman's instinct isn't triggered by effort. It's triggered by value. She didn't leave you because you did something wrong. She left because you did everything right, but from the wrong mindset. One of fear, of submission, of putting her above your own self-worth. You let yourself erode. You let your talent and appearance go dull. But you are capable of far more than this. You think that if you stop texting, stop reaching out, she'll forget you and move on to someone else. But the truth is, if she still has any feelings left, it's the distance that will make her remember you. Think about you. Start to wonder what changed in him. When you stop reacting, you become unpredictable. When you become unpredictable, you become attractive. You're afraid she'll forget you. But the truth is, you're doing everything to make that easy for her. You're always available. You show up even when she's distant. You send long messages explaining yourself, proving your love. And slowly, you become the man she doesn't have to work to keep. Women don't value what comes too easily. Not because they're cruel, but because we all tend to undervalue what we don't have to earn. Think about it. The guy who confuses her, who doesn't text every day, stays in her mind for hours. While you, the one who always listens, always checks in, slowly begin to feel like a burden. I know, you'll say, but you don't get it. She's different. She's not like other women. Trust me, every heartbroken man says the same thing. And then they realize one truth. No matter how special she seems, she's still human. And humans have instincts. At this point, you're probably asking, what if I do everything right? I hold back, focus on myself, stop begging, and she still walks away. That's the most painful question in every man's heart going through this. And I won't give you a sugar-coated answer to make it easier. Yes, the thing you fear most might happen. She may leave for good. No messages, no second chances, not even a goodbye glance. But that isn't a tragedy. It's a release. You think you're losing a woman. But in reality, you're removing from your life someone who no longer chooses you. And in love, that's not a loss. That's clarity. The real tragedy isn't that she left. It's that you might keep living like your worth depends on whether or not she stays. A man who's rejected but stays grounded, that's a man the world respects. A man who's left behind but never loses his poise, that's a man who's never disrespected again. You don't lose when someone leaves you. You only lose when you abandon yourself just to make someone stay. Stoicism doesn't teach you to suppress emotion. It teaches you to put emotion in its rightful place. Remember what Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. You can't control whether she chooses you, but you can choose calm while the storm rages. You can't force anyone to love you forever, but you can become the kind of man who's unforgettable to the one who comes next. Look beyond love for a second. A man with a strong core understands no one is the one. No one is truly irreplaceable. No loss has the right to dismantle who you are, because you weren't born just to be loved. You were born to lead, to shape the world around you, to become a place where others feel safe, not a man who can be steered by someone else's whims. I know right now that's hard to hear. You might be thinking, but I still love her, and I won't deny your feelings. But I'll ask you this, do you love her, or do you love the feeling of being validated by someone else? Because if it's real love, you'd let her go if that's what she truly wants. And if you love yourself, you'd never trade your dignity for a one-sided relationship. Picture yourself 5 years from now, more successful, wiser, free. You run into her again, not to reopen old wounds, but to realize something you once loved deeply. But now you love yourself enough never to beg again. And if that day never comes, then remember this. You weren't put on this earth to run into someone again. You're here so you never have to run into the weaker version of yourself again. So what if she leaves for good? Let her. But don't leave yourself behind again. So do you need to become cold, heartless, or cruel to women? No. But you do need to stop shrinking just to be loved. Women don't crave cruelty. They respond to power. The kind that doesn't beg, doesn't prove, doesn't need anyone's approval to know its worth. They're not drawn to spineless kindness. They're drawn to the man who holds his ground, even after rejection. To them, the one who doesn't need them is the one worth chasing. You didn't lose her because you weren't good enough. You lost her because you poured all your life force into someone else, instead of using that same power to lead your own life. If you've ever loved deeply only to be taken for granted, left behind, and made to feel invisible, remember this, you weren't wrong for loving. You were wrong for thinking self-sacrifice is proof of love. Real love never asks you to trade your dignity. From this moment on, you don't need to do anything to be chosen. You are the one who does the choosing, starting with yourself. If any part of this video hit you hard or made you wish someone had told you this sooner, leave a comment. Other men are reading. They need to know they're not alone. If you know someone stuck in an unfair relationship, send this video to them. And finally, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Victory Stoic, the space where grown men reclaim their place in the world, not through noise, but through powerful stillness. You don't need anyone to be addicted to you. You just need to be strong enough to become the reward they have to earn. Because you are the alpha.